Are you wealthy? This should be a simple question with a yes or a no response. I'm talking about financial wealth here. So by a show of hands in the audience, who's wealthy? Only a couple of hands went up. How could that be that in an audience filled with so many successful looking people results in so few of us considering ourselves wealthy? Well, I'll tell you why. First, our expectations are too high as to what it means to be wealthy. It's the unattainable. You think of the likes of Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and I hate to say it, Kim Kardashian. We'll never reach that goal. The second issue why nobody raised their hands is because you're uncomfortable sharing your status, your financial well-being. There's a certain stigma with sharing one's wealth. These are two issues that we need to break down. I'd like to change your mindset so that we can change these barriers so that you too will have the opportunity to become wealthy. So let's talk about the why first. Why is it important for you to feel wealthy? First, from a relationship perspective, you can improve your relationships. 35% of all relationship issues are the result of financial challenges. You can improve your health. Health issues are the result of financial stresses. It causes insomnia, headaches, and can even cause cardiovascular diseases. And finally, and most importantly, I believe that it's your social responsibility to feel wealthy. It's the reason that we're on this earth is to help others. If you're concerned about your financial stresses, then you're not going to be able to give to others in time and money and in educating others to also achieve wealth status. So today, I'd like to change the definition of what it means to be wealthy so that all of us can have this opportunity to reach that status someday. So, what is society's current definition of what it means to be wealthy? Wealthy is having an abundance of valuable material possessions or resources, according to Merriam-Webster. To me, this is a vague definition, and it kind of conjures up some ideas of people with their mega mansions driving around in their fancy yachts with some gold chains around their necks. It really is unattainable. It's pretty extreme. I need some numbers. I'm an accountant, so give me some real tangible items to point to as to what I need to achieve to be wealthy. So if I look across the United States, you would need $10.3 million in order to be considered wealthy. That's a high, unachievable amount in most people's cases. Now, if I look at a smaller location, in Arkansas, I'm estimating that you would need to have greater than $1.8 million of net worth. So by my location, that will determine whether I'm wealthy or not. That doesn't make much sense. And if I expand that location to be the entire world, you would need greater than $770,000 of net worth to be wealthy. Now that's actually more achievable for most of us. So rather than comparing ourselves to others, we should be comparing ourselves to our own individual circumstances and what we can achieve. So what I would like to do is to change our views on what it means to be wealthy so that we can have our own individual definition. Let's first talk about how you grow your wealth, and then we can use those tools to redefine what it means to be wealthy. So you can grow your wealth through three components: earnings, savings, and investing. When you look at earnings, most of the get-rich-quick schemes that you might look at are focused on earnings. How to make $1 million with no money down. We've all seen those infomercials. But actually, in our lifetime, we'll only grow our earnings by 3 to 5% per year. And that is the average that you're going to increase your standards of living, your costs of living. Therefore, your buying power is really not growing much at all. So if earnings is out of the picture, then I'm suggesting that we should focus more on savings and investing. Now, by challenging these two areas of strategic saving and smart investing, we can grow our wealth. So I'm proposing a new definition as having a high multiple of net worth in proportion to your earnings. This is a new definition of what it means to be wealthy. Your earnings, not somebody else's earnings. I've created a formula that can help you to determine how far along on this path you are of achieving that status of wealthy. This simple formula I'm referring to as the wealth factor. Now let me show you how to calculate this. The wealth factor is determined by starting with your net worth. That's your assets minus your debt. And to calculate the wealth factor, you divide that by your average earnings. This is a simple number, a multiple, that we can now share with each other. By using this factor and talking about it, you're not sharing any information about your net worth or your earnings because the result is just a multiple. How well have you done at saving and investing to grow your earnings into some accumulated wealth? I might make $5 million, and my wealth factor could be 4. You might make $100,000, and your wealth factor could be 10. I'd want to learn from you about how to save and invest more. Let's look at an example. You have the Thomases. They have a very nice house, and their earnings are $425,000 a year. They have this lavish lifestyle where they have a beautiful yacht, country club membership, and they go on these fancy vacations every year. And as a result, after they're done with all of that, they have $50,000 left to save. Not a lot, considering how much they're earning. And they also don't have much time to invest. If you're running around the world and enjoying your boat and everything in your fancy lifestyle, then you're probably just putting your money away into savings. And their average earning on savings is 2%. Now let's look at the Bradys. And yes, I am a Patriots fan. They have average earnings of $125,000. They pay themselves first. They get their paycheck, they determine how much they can save. And then they determine, by budgeting, how much they can give to others and what else they can do with their money. So they save $30,000 a year. And they also are strategic investors. They invest their money smartly. They invest in their 401k plan that their companies match. They buy stock. They set money aside for a rainy day. And their investment return is 6%. So let's look at how these families compare after 10 years' time. So the Thomases, after 10 years' time, have accumulated $550,000 of net worth. And the Bradys have $410,000 of net worth. After 20 years, this is where the real magic is. Their net worth for the Thomases is $1.2 million, and the Bradys is $1.1 million. Nearly the same. But they're still not comparable because they have different net earnings. So by using the wealth factor, after 20 years, the Thomases have a wealth factor of 2.8. And the Bradys have a wealth factor of 8.8. Now, in this case, I believe that the Bradys are wealthy. And the Thomases, they are not considered wealthy, in my mind. If they had the same investing and savings habits as the Bradys, they would have had $3.7 million saved up after 20 years. So you need to look at your wealth factors. When I'm referring to savings and investing, I'm not talking about changing your fancy lifestyle for a better future. We don't want to wait for that nice future. We can save by making smart decisions along the way that can accumulate your wealth over time. So start a budget. Buy a used car instead of a new car. Take your annual bonus and save it and invest it. And go on that family vacation maybe once every 2 or 3 years instead of annually. I have an extreme example. I have a friend that sold his internet company and he made $10 million. I was so excited for him. I asked him, "What are you going to do with all this new money that you found?" He said, "I'm going to buy a really, really awesome mountain bike." Mountain bike? This is the mindset of a wealthy individual. They don't get $1 and determine where they're going to spend it. They get $1 and determine how quickly they can turn it into 100. So my call to action is for you to determine your wealth factor and share that with others. It'll help you to identify how you can grow your income, how you can grow your wealth, and how you can save and invest and build a better future for yourselves. I know that this is a challenging topic to talk about. I know that it's difficult to talk about your wealth and your savings and your investing. I too have faced this dilemma. I came from a small town in New Hampshire. I grew up in a trailer, living in a small 8-foot by 4-foot bedroom with my brother. Our family vacations entailed packing up our car and driving off to a campground and going hiking and fishing. But all of my friends and family around me were in a similar economic situation. I wasn't embarrassed by my financial situation. I didn't think I was missing anything in comparison to everyone else. My parents, who are in the audience today, taught me how to save smartly. And I've taken these savings habits and I've combined them with some investment strategies that I've learned. And with this, I've been able to accumulate a sizable net worth. But I can't go back home and talk about my net worth or my earnings because I don't believe that it's the right way to approach it. I don't feel comfortable talking about those items. But instead, with the wealth factor, I can now talk about how well I've saved and invested. Mom, Dad, my wealth factor is 12. Thank you. I'm not revealing anything about my earnings. I'm not revealing anything about my net worth with that number. So determine your wealth factor and start discussing it with others. Start to share your stories and learn from each other. Find out who has a higher wealth factor than you and find out how they did it. So I asked you this question in the beginning, and many of you likely answered with a no. I'd like you, as you walk out that door today, to identify the tools that you need in order to grow your wealth. Start learning from each other so that the next time you're asked this question, you'll be able to answer it with a very confident yes. Determine your wealth factor and grow it. Thank you.